Generation X. In general terms, those born between 1965 and 1980. Latchkey kids. Independent. Existentialism. Modern philosophy focusing on personal experience, human ability, and responsibility in an otherwise meaningless universe. We're the cause. This is the effect. We're the Gen Existentialists. Welcome in, my friends, to the Gen Existentialist podcast. My name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And we are here to chat with you about all manner of things Gen Existential, as it were. And it's just us today. We've done a whole run of shows where we had special guests, but it's just us hanging out in the studio today. So we're going to get back to some Mega Wheel the Magnificent, I think.
Finally undo my pants.
No. So you added some material to Mega Wheel.
Oh, yeah. I think if you look, there are now 1,400 plus topics on Mega Wheel. She has grown exponentially.
1,400. Folks, if you've been listening for a long time, you know that we were feeling pretty good about having 500 topics. If we've got 1,400 now, holy crap.
You're in for some treats, I'd say.
Now, are any of those things that people sent in, or is it all stuff that you went and
a scant few? I'll be honest with you. A scant few questions have been added from listeners like you. But the majority of these are things that came along from books of questions, games that had cards with questions in them, all sorts of...
Cards Against Humanity?
No.
Oh, okay.
And all sorts of unanswerable questions and weird things like that. There are some debate topics from school debate.
Ooh, that'll be good.
Yeah, there's some pretty controversial stuff in here, so it should be interesting fodder.
Very cool. So I will go ahead and give Mega Wheel a spin. Tap to spin the wheel, and it's spinning. And still, the picture that you put into the middle of the wheel, and we're not going to share the wheel with anybody, but... No. Bunny put a photograph in the middle of the wheel, and it's just...
She's lovely.
Awful. Just awful.
She's corpulent.
So, we have our first topic, and it is this. What is your biggest pet peeve?
Oof. Biggest pet peeve. I have so many pet peeves. It's hard to choose just one.
I think some of it can go from our discussion prior to starting the show. Maybe.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I hate working with people that don't really know what they're doing or what they want, but they want it right now.
Typically customers.
No, it's not even customers. It's other people who claim to be professionals.
Ah, yeah.
If you're a professional and you don't really know what you're doing, you're probably not technically a professional. You're probably just an enthusiast.
A hack. A ham and egger.
Well, yeah, maybe. I think there has to be a moratorium on Facebook vague posting or just social media vague posting in general. Not a huge fan of that. It's one of my bigger pet peeves.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think my biggest pet peeve is I'm going to have to say it's a lack of professionalism in arenas where professionalism is how things should be handled. So don't ask me a question in which I am a subject matter expert and then debate me on it.
See,
if that's what you want to do, just don't even ask me. Just go with what you already think.
Yeah. Can you tell we've had bad work week or two or three?
Well, mine's not even from a bad work week. It comes from a lot of different things. It comes from editing. It comes from some of the safety stuff. That happens every once in a while. To a certain extent, I can understand. Don't not ask questions. If you ask me if this particular thing needs to be guarded and I give you an answer, it's fine to discuss it. Let's go through it. Especially if you're trying to understand what I'm saying and why. The more you know, the better off I am as your safety professional. But if you ask me and I say, yes, it does because of this, this, and this, caught in hazard, blah, 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 and you say, I still don't think so. I think it's fine as it is. Now we've got a problem because you have asked me for my professional opinion and I've given it. I've given you the background and you've said, nah, fuck it,
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I wanted to do anyway.
But technically, an opinion is just an opinion. It's not an edict from the mountaintop or anything. It's you
This
can take
is-
somebody's opinion or you can stuff it, So,
Well, this is true, but if you ask me for my opinion on a topic like that, and I can quote you the OSHA standards that tell you what your legal requirements are, and I can give you various ways in which you can satisfy those requirements, and then you still go, nah, fuck it. We've got a problem.
you say, just buy me a beer if you just want to go out and jaw for an half an
Yeah,
hour.
if you just want to talk about machine guarding and yap for a while, I'm game. I like that kind of stuff. But if we're actually talking about the safety of workers, we've got an issue. If you're going to ask a professional for their help, it's like what you were talking about earlier. Bunny gave the example of you bring a plumber in, you don't stand over their shoulder and tell them which wrench to use.
Exactly.
You hired the plumber to do plumbing. Let them do their work.
Yeah, let them run with it, man. I mean,
Absolutely.
so what is your biggest peeve about pets?
My biggest peeve about pets, that there are not self-emptying litter boxes for the cats. And I guess there kind of are. There are newer fangled mechanical boxes that the cat will go into its business, and they'll kind of rotate and collect the waste products below, and you just have to empty that. But from what I've seen, they typically get even dirtier more quickly. So
I'm just imagining cats being caught in these mechanisms as they're going around.
and that was a
sounds
concern
like a good
too.
time.
We definitely don't want that to happen, but yeah, that would be worrisome. So your biggest peeve about pets then?
My biggest peeve about pets is that they all aren't outdoors.
Man. There's nothing better than indoor pets.
I do wish pets would get off their lazy butts, their lazy dependent butts, and learn how to speak proper human, so that we could actually understand what the heck's going on in their tiny brains.
But you know what? Like this morning, Tracy pointed this out. Our oldest cat, Elizabeth, she's 16, 17. She loves these little treat balls. You put treats in the little like egg-shaped ball, and she has to bat them around the floor, and they'll drop treats, and that's how she gets treats. If they're empty, when you walk into the kitchen, she will bat them over into your foot and then just sit there and look at you like, yo, my treat ball's empty. So, I mean, from a cat's point of view, how much better could she communicate that her treat ball's empty?
Grow thumbs, Grandma.
Well, we don't want her to have full access to the treats.
I could probably lose some serious weight if the only way I could get a sweet treat was to figure out a puzzle, because I hate puzzles. I just lay in the corner and moan and cry and starve.
What happened to Bunny? All he could get was bread and water because he couldn't do the Sudoku this time.
Yeah. Duh.
And look at it. He was using a pen. He got real close. He almost survived.
Oh, well. Let's spin that baby one
Let's
more
give
time.
Mega Wheel a spin again. And that poor person's face spinning around like that. And it's like there are multiple people in the picture, too. It's just kind of disturbing.
Those
really.
are called double chins.
Double? It looks like there's a whole lot more than double.
It's like a dewlap.
Okay, question number 2 is this. Do you ever talk to yourself in your head?
I talk to myself in my head, out in public, around the house. I work from home, so I spend at least 2 days a week, if not more. And previously, before the pandemic, I spent 5 days a week at home alone. So I spend a lot of time singing songs I make up in my head. I spend a lot of time having conversations with myself in my head and outside. How about you?
Yes, I'm just you've given examples of the songs that you sing
I
sometimes. And I don't even know, even though we're pretty loose with this show, I don't know that singing any of them would be a good idea.
We'll save that for a new podcast.
Yes, I do talk to myself in my head a lot. Like, especially if I've got a meeting or if I've got training that I'm going to be giving, because I practice through the training. I've got PowerPoints for all the trainings that I do. And if I've got a couple sessions coming up, I go back through, and in my head, I'm talking through stuff just to refamiliarize myself with the flow of it and get ready for it. It's just like practicing songs before a gig, things like that. But in general, yes, I've almost always got a running commentary going in my head. And it's where a lot of lyrics, poems, things like that have started, because I'll be talking to myself, self-narrating my life in my head, and something, I'll have a cool line and I'll go, oh, that was inspired, write it down, and it becomes the beginning of something. So yeah, it's pretty much a never-ending, like the longest stream of consciousness bullshit narration that you could potentially picture.
Do you ever worry about having a Homer Simpson moment where you say what you're thinking and vice versa? Okay.
I have. And actually, my wife, Tracy, does this too. We both do this, except sometimes hers escapes. And I'll like hear her in the other room, this kind of like she's talking to somebody, but not loud enough for anybody to hear. And it's like her inner monologue is escaping a little bit. And I think it's the cutest, funniest thing.
Oh, boy.
I just love hearing that.
Gosh, my poor suffering wife. We have a room upstairs that has TV in it. Sometimes I'm in there watching television, but there's also a very large plant that I've been raising from a very small little plant. And she asked me this morning, said, oh, well, make sure you say goodnight to the plant, when you get by. And she said, oh, do you say bad things to it? And I was like, no, I never say anything bad to the plant. I'm like, come on. And she's like, oh, well, sometimes I hear you and her cursing a blue streak. I'm like, oh, that's just me bitching at the world. It happens. It's me responding to the internet or responding to somebody on a game show or something. I'm like, you stupid bitch. I'm like having this, I don't know, fit.
Have you ever been like at work? And you say something like that was only in your head, but you say it out loud and you didn't realize it, and the other person, like one other person in the room, hears it and says, what? You're like, oh, I wasn't talking to you. And there's nobody else in the room but you too.
Okay. No, I've not done that, but I have this great all-pervading fear. It's probably one of the reasons I stopped doing tech support for live Zoom webinars. It was a great lucrative little side business, make a couple hundos, sitting around watching other people do Zoom meetings and, making sure that they stay online.
If you want to talk, press unmute. Unmute your mic.
I'm telling you, I was always scared to death that I was going to leave my mic off, like on, I guess, as opposed to muting it out, because they'll be talking about stuff and I'd be like, I'd be calling them all sorts of terrible names, like just dancing around because such lousy topics. And I was so scared that one of these days I'm going to forget to mute. And it's just going to be, they'll be in the middle of a meeting and all of a sudden they'll be like, oh, you dumb poor, blah, blah, blah. And they'll be like, where did that voice come from?
Who was that? Who was that? And that's when, as tech support, you just throw a message up. Not sure how somebody got through, but I'm working on it.
No doubt. That's a good cover. See, I gave up that lucrative career. That was one of the reasons I gave it up, is because, boy, listening to people talk about stuff you don't care about for hours at a time is dull enough as it is. But when you have a constant running commentary about it, either in your head or in real time, because you're home alone anyway and you're bored. Yeah. So, yeah, it gets pretty dangerous. So,
yeah, I can't imagine doing that. If it was topics that I enjoyed or knew something about, it might be fun. But a lot of the stuff you were doing was just not anywhere near the realm of stuff you were interested in.
Not really.
So we're going to go back to Mega Wheel for the third time and see what kind of incredible topic she can provide. And we're spinning, and here we go. This is right in your ballpark.
Oh, well.
Have you ever considered starting your own business or project? And if so, Bunny, what would it be?
Oh, boy. Let me tell you, I have started my own business and or project. I've been doing it for nearly 20 years now. But if I could start a whole new business, let me tell you what I'd love to do. And I have this all thought out. I just need to find some angel donors. Dropping a hint out there, listeners. I'm looking for some angel donors.
And we'll give you the contact information in a few moments.
There was a toy store when we were growing up called Johnny's Toys.
Johnny's Toys, yes.
And they had this thing called the Birthday Castle. And they had this brilliant idea of sending out postcards with this little tin key on it for your birthday. Your parents would sign you up. They'd put it in the mail. It was super exciting to get a key. And you knew that the week of your birthday or whatever, when you had this key, you could go there, and they had this this door underneath the stairs. This was a 2-floor toy store, and you gave them the key, and they pretended to put it in the lock, and opened it up, and this place was full of wrapped presents, and you got to pick one present for your birthday. And they don't do that anymore. I mean, they have this. Johnny's has long since gone out of business, and their location's been bought out by a tech support / computer store, and they do some piss ass, version of it where it's like, oh, we inherited the birthday castle, so we're going to do this for your birthday. It doesn't work. Nobody gets any notifications or keys for this thing. It's a totally sloppy operation. What I would love to do is I would love to come up with a nonprofit company where I could rent out a storefront, gussy it all up as fancy as possible, make it a whole thing. People that work there have to wear costumes, the whole bit. And it's this big, basically it's a reemergence of the birthday castle where kids come, they get greeted by a knight in shining armor or a princess or a spaceman or something, whatever it is that day. And they get the full treatment. They get to go in, they get to pick a wrapped present out, so they get to unwrap it. And it's this big experience for them, because I think that is so absolutely important for children to have something that they can hold on to throughout their entire lives, like a really good memory. And that's something you talk to anybody in this area that we live in right now, that is a Generation X, they all had this Johnny's Birthday Castle experience, and everybody loved it and relates to it. I would love to be able to do that again on a scale for a neighborhood. Because, some of these kids, let's be bleeding heart honest here, that might have been the best experience they had for their birthday. Maybe they come from a situation where their parents aren't as financially secure as others. Maybe they come from a place where they just don't have that great of a home life. This is something that they can... I mean, the toys were always crap. I mean, let's be honest. The toys from Johnny's Toy Castle were always just lousy, cheap things, but they were wrapped.
It was a way to get you in there and allow your parents to shop for your birthday.
Exactly.
While you were otherwise occupied.
But wouldn't it be cool? I mean, and that was still something that they did that was super special. I'm sure it cost them quite a bit to mail those things out to hundreds of thousands of kids. But to do something like that where it isn't connected to you want to buy some more stuff? You want to put some stuff on layaway for Christmas? You want to blah, blah, blah. Yeah. To just do it. Just to do it. For the neighborhood, for the kids. I think that'd be awesome. So that would be what I'd like to start in my twilight years.
An admirable project there.
Well, there you go.
And would there be an age limit on...
Yeah, I think it has to be between like 3 and 12, probably.
Okay, see, I'm against it now then.
Okay.
And here's the reason why. You said you think everybody of our generation had that experience. Mm-hmm. You're sitting across from someone that did not.
You're kidding me.
No.
You grew up in Bellevue.
Villa Hills,
close.
and Covington.
Yeah.
And my parents took me to Johnny's several times. Mm-hmm. But no, I never had a key. I was never on the list. I never went.
You need to talk to your parents about why they didn't put you on the list. Now you're just on the watch list, and they don't give you anything.
Oh,
for that
he's one of them.
He's
one of them that never came to the castle.
No.
My thing, I would love to open a toy store.
No, we'll see. We can get together and work on this.
And here's the thing. I understand that with the Amazons and things like that and mail order and websites, it's a money loser. So I wouldn't have a whole lot of employees. It would be a labor of love. And it would be very specific, like the types of toys and stuff, but I would want it to be a mecca for people that like the kind of stuff that I still do. Action figures, things like that, electronic stuff, video games, things of that nature. because there just aren't any anymore. They've literally just gone away. There aren't toy stores. Well, there are a few, but a lot of them are collectors' paradises. I mean, there's one here in the greater Cincinnati area, House of Plastic, that is just amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
And there are other like comic stores like Comics to Games in Florence that sells action figures and games and stuff. But the concept of having a specific toy store like a Johnny's again is just really interesting to me. Or a store that just sells bases. Like literally, there's an empty bank.
That's very niche.
Well,
market.
it is. It absolutely is. But there are a few around the United States. Back in 1995, I went to one in Louisville. There was just a base store. And because you go to most guitar stores, Guitar Center, any place like that, they've got basses. They've got a couple racks of some bass strings. It's not focused on bass. And most of the basses they've got in stock, they've got a few Fender Precisions and Jazzes. They've got some cheap stuff. It's just, I want to go someplace that has more. And obviously, it would also be a money loser. You couldn't have a bunch of staff. It would just be a couple people running it as a labor of love. Have some of the better locals that could teach, do lessons and stuff like that. But make it like everything from low rent stuff for kids just starting out up to, Federas, and God help you if you could get a wall or something in there that like $20,000 bases and things. Just have something like that. Just to have it exist for people that, people that play bass, like, oh, one day I want to go there and have it be that kind of place.
All right.
Yeah. So if I were going to start my own business, if I won the lottery, I would buy a building and turn it into a bass store.
Okay.
Yeah. Or a pharmacy. That way I could get my insulin and stuff for free. Write it off. It would just make things easier.
You could just hire an international cat burglar if you were a millionaire, and they could do it for you for free.
Or I could just move to Canada.
This is true.
Which is, yeah, that would be a way to go too. And we've about knocked it out for this episode.
Already?
Yeah. You want to give folks contact information?
I'll tell you what. In the future now, I'm just going to ask you to come to the Mixcloud page where you found this podcast and drop us a line there.
Drop us a comment. Let us know what you're thinking. If you have questions you want added to Mega Wheel the Magnificent, we will do it from there.
All right.
Until we catch you next time, my name's Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
Have a good one.